Up, everybody? We're back with another edition of Everyday Hoops. Hope you guys are having a good one. Today we have another episode of the Look In series, the series where at the end of each team season, I go recap the season, look at the future, the outlook of the team, the state of the team, and all stuff like that. Today's episode is on the Cleveland Cavaliers. We have a lot to talk about with this Cavalier team. Thank you guys for the views on the videos and the shorts recently. I really appreciate it. If you do like the content around here, consider subscribing, turn notifications, also like that. I'd really appreciate it. Really upset a lot. Join the membership. If you want to learn more about the membership, there's a video on my channel explaining all of it. You can go back and watch that. Click to my Twitter, TikTok, stuff like that. Description down below. And don't waste any more of your time. Let's get right into it. So the Cleveland Cavaliers this season, they finished the regular season 48-34. They finished fourth in the Eastern Conference. Eventually, they beat the Magic in the first round in 7 games, and lose to the Boston Celtics in 5. And there's a lot to talk about with this Cavalier team. A lot to talk about with this Cavalier team. They had high expectations coming into this season after last year, acquiring Donovan Mitchell, being a top 4 team in the Eastern Conference, being one of the best teams in the league, and then having a disappointing first round exit to the New York Knicks in an embarrassing 5-game fashion. They came out this offseason, made some moves, acquired guys like Max Strus, George Niang, another year of Evan Mobley, another year of Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell, getting more acclimated into the team. And of course, again, when you finish the top 5 team in the East, especially with how young the Cavs are, it's high expectations coming into this season. And one big thing about this team this season was injuries, especially to their top 4. Donovan Mitchell only played in 55 of 82 games. Darius Garland only played in 57, and Evan Mobley played in 50. Jared Allen played in 77. Max Strus played in 70. Okoro 69. So they've had Dean Wade only played in 54 games. Tristan Thompson got suspended for a little while. Like they had a lot of injuries this season, which was unfortunate. But despite that, they were still a top 4 team in the East. They won a big run in about January where they won 18 of their 20 games. And we're like second in the Eastern Conference and things were going really good. And then they started to kind of break down the second half of the season. Donovan Mitchell missed a lot of time the second half of the season. They dropped to the 4th spot. They go in the first round against the Magic, a young and experienced Magic team, and they struggle. They struggle hard. They win the first 2 games in Cleveland. They get destroyed in Orlando the next 2 games. They win Game 5 in Cleveland. They lose Game 6 in Orlando where Donovan Mitchell had 50 points and lost. And then they barely had to come back from down 20 points in Game 7 to come back and win that series. And you go to the Boston series, no Jared Allen. They lose the first game, win the second game, lose the third game. Donovan Mitchell gets injured. He misses Game 4 and Game 5, and they go out in 5 games. Even though, got to give credit to the Cavaliers in Game 4 and Game 5 without Donovan Mitchell. They put up a fight and literally had to take the Celtics the last 5 minutes or 6 minutes of each game, having to kind of pull away. So credit to the Cavaliers for doing that. They competed. But now the Cavaliers are they're in a state of uncertainty right now. They're in a very weird position. And honestly, their offseason is probably going to be one of the most intriguing off seasons. I think a lot of people are going to be looking at the Cavaliers this offseason because a lot of different things can happen, honestly, with this Cavs team. Nothing is really set in place right now. Nothing is really safe. All options are on the table at this point. Having this kind of young team with Garland, with Mobley, with Donovan Mitchell, with Jared Allen, a team that you brought in Strus in the end, you brought in good pieces around this team, and you kind of don't really have a big improvement. Obviously, on paper, it's going to look like an improvement because they went from losing the first round to losing the second round. But if you actually watch, you could tell they're not there yet, And this wouldn't be as big of a problem if Donovan Mitchell's contract situation wasn't like what it is. If Donovan Mitchell had a 4-year extension or was on the team for 4 years, then it'd be like, all right, just make some moves here and there, and then you can bring it back. But the uncertainty of Donovan Mitchell's future, I think that's the key to all of this. The key to the Cavs offseason and everything that's going to go on with the Cleveland Cavaliers in the future is centered around Donovan Mitchell. And what is he thinking in his head? He's going to be a free agent in 2025. He's going to be eligible for a contract extension coming up this year. And there's been talks ever since, before he even came to Cleveland, since he was been in Utah. And they were winning, getting the 1 seed in the Western Conference and doing stuff like that, of saying Donovan Mitchell wants to be in a big market. He wants to be in New York. He wants to be in Miami. He wants to be in LA. He doesn't want to be in Utah or Cleveland. He doesn't want to be in a small market. The first opportunity he's going to get, he's going to New York. Even when the Jazz were trading everybody was like, Donovan Mitchell's going to New York. Signed, sealed, delivered. Donovan Mitchell was getting traded to the Knicks. And then he went to the Cavaliers. And now, even as the Cavaliers, it's been even more of just like, he's going to go to New York. He wants to go to the Knicks. He wants to go be home. He wants to be in a big market. And it's just really tough right now for the Cavaliers to do much if they don't know what's going to happen with Donovan Mitchell. Because again, he has been amazing in his 2 years in Cleveland. I mean, he's been an all-star starter. He's had some superhero performances, and he's arguably like the second or third best player in Cavalier history. And he's only played 2 seasons. Like that's how amazing he's been, and he's a superstar. And you don't really just get guys like Donovan Mitchell, superstars like that, just flying around. So when you have him, especially at the age of what is he, 27, in his prime, like you want to capitalize on it. But really, all of this kind of depends on Donovan Mitchell and what he's thinking in his head. Because if he's thinking in his head, if he already has, I don't want to say one foot out the door, because he looks engaged. Obviously, you see him on the court and stuff. He looks engaged. He looks like he wants to be in Cleveland. He says all the right things. But realistically, it's never official until they sign the paper, until the name is on the contract and it is signed. That's the only time where it's official. So he can say all the things he wants. We've seen so many different, examples of people saying, "Yeah, this is what I want to do. I want to be here," and then 2 months later they're gone. So really, he's saying all the right things, but I don't want to say one foot out the door. But if he already has his mind in the back of his mind, he's already kind of saying, "Yeah, 2025, I'm out of here. As soon as New York, LA has opportunity, I'm going." Then it's going to be tough for Cleveland to kind of move, because you do have the Darius Garland situation where Darius Garland didn't have a great season. He did miss a lot of games. Again, he only played in 55 games out of 82. But when he did, especially in the playoffs, didn't have a great playoff run. And honestly, you could see this entire season. The Donovan Mitchell Darius Garland pairing hasn't really panned out like how we thought it would be. Those two get together on the court. They've had their moments, they've had their games, but realistically, I don't think they can work together. I don't think you're gonna go far and hit the expectations the Cavaliers want to hit with those two as your guards. Unfortunately, which is tough because again, Darius Garland, you drafted him fifth overall. You saw him where he was one of the worst players in the league to rookie year, bounced all the way up into being an all-star type player, and he's still only like what 24 years old. So I mean, you just paid him money too. Like you don't want to. It's tough to let that go, but if you want to keep Donovan Mitchell and a superstar around, it might have to be. And even a report came out after they lost last night saying Rich Paul is going to talk to the Cavaliers and Kobe Allman and see what's going on. And if they are going to give Donovan Mitchell the extension, then they might be looking to seek a trade, which I can't really blame them because I think they see it too. Like when Donovan's been here, Darius hasn't been the all star like he was. So Darius Garland might not be a Cavalier any longer, which is tough for Cavs, but I kind of hope that for Darius to get him back on track. To see because I mean he's a really good player. He's an all star. I mean he made all star. He's an all star caliber. Even though he might not never make an all star team again, but he's just gonna be a really good point guard. He's a really good starting point guard. So we'll see what happens there. um Jared Allen thing where Jared Allen got injured. A report came out that said he didn't want to take the shot to play through the injury and all this stuff like that. So we'll see what happens. There's a lot of interest around him around the league too, and especially having Evan Mobley, who might, if he doesn't take the offensive jump that people are expecting him to take, then Evan Mobley might have to become a center. And then where do you send Jared Allen? Because Jared Allen honestly was the second best player for the Cavaliers this season. So do you just trade him away just like that to put Mobley at center? But then who are you going to fill at the power forward spot? And then looking at Evan Mobley. Evan Mobley didn't have the big jump of year that we thought he had. I mean, he only played 50 games this year. But, he didn't have the jump offensively that we expected. Defensively, he's elite. We already know that. Defensively, he's elite. Can't get much better than that, especially at 22 years old. But offensively, he has not taken the jump yet. We did see some little glimpses in the Celtics series in game 4 and game 5, especially game 5 where he had 33 points. But then again, how much do you really hold on to that? Is that just something he did just because they were losing? Or is that a real thing that they can unlock? And he's still young. I'm not saying write him off yet. Obviously, he's still 22 years old. He still has so much time to grow and get better. He's only going to be in his 4th season. But realistically, you got to think like, will Evan Mobley ever be offensively that guy? Not saying he has to average 25 points a game. Not that. Just is he ever going to be consistently an aggressive guy that you can consistently give the ball to and be comfortable with it? Because a lot of times I watch Evan Mobley and I'm not comfortable with him in the post. I'm not comfortable with him shooting jumpers. Like I don't know. Just his offensive game is still raw at this point, and that's tough trying to build a team, especially having a guy like Jared Allen, where they work so well together defensively, but realistically, offensively, the way the NBA is now, you need spacing, and Jared Allen isn't shooting anything besides if it's not a dunk or offensive rebound or a little floater push shot, it's not going. And Evan Mobley, he tried to take threes, and when he actually was doing solid. But teams are gonna live with Evan Mobley taking threes. If a possession for a Cavaliers ends in an Evan Mobley 3-pointer, I don't think teams are gonna be super, mad about it. And if he makes it, he makes it. So, in this new NBA world where you have space around the court, especially with two guards like Darius and Donovan who like to get downhill and do their thing, it's like how much do we really want to keep the big duo around? But if Evan Mobley can never develop into being a stretch guy or being offensive guy, then you just have him at the five. And then what do you do with Jared Allen and who plays the four now? It's just there's a lot. And then you got JB Bickerstaff. What's going to happen there? I heard that after the game, they report that his job is in danger. He potentially might not be a coach next season. So who do you bring in now? Now you have to bring a new coach in or integrate him into the system, which usually takes about maybe a year. So now you're already kind of punting next year. But when Donovan Mitchell next year is the last year of his contract. If you don't do anything then he might leave. It's just there's just so much. It is so much going on with the Cavaliers. Like everything is up in the air right now. And then I was thinking like, okay, so you trade Darius Garland, you trade Jared Allen, you do all this for Donovan Mitchell, and he still leaves. Then you're left with Evan Mobley, Max Strus, and what? A bunch of just Evan Mobley and a bunch of dudes. So it's like if you make all these moves to Donovan Mitchell and Donovan Mitchell still ends up leaving, then you are in a bad position because now you're like, well, we just traded away all of our future to try to help him win, and then he left us. So do you trade Darius Garland right now and do all that in hopes of Donovan Mitchell staying and he still leaves and take that risk? Or do you keep him around for another year, you keep it together, but then are things going to get better next year with a new coach? Who knows? It's just there's a lot. There is an absolute lot to think about with this Cavalier team, and Kobe Altman is not a GM I want to be in his shoes right now because he's got a lot of decisions to make, a lot of tough decisions to make, and it's just a lot. Looking at free agency. Well, look at the draft first. They're gonna have the 20th pick in the draft, so they could bring in a young piece. I think a young Ford guy like Tristan DeSilva from Colorado, I think would be nice. Maybe more shooting, more spacing. Guy like Johnny Furphy from Kansas. Maybe Terrence Shannon Jr. from Illinois, a senior. And come in and do that. Looking at other guys like Keyshawn George, you can take a chance on Kevin McCullough, one of my guys in the draft. He's a senior and come in and do some good things. So I mean, you have a first round pick, you can bring in a young guy. That's a good thing. Looking at free agency, they have negative $48 million of cap space, about 13, so about league average in terms of cap space this year. And then looking at their free agents next season, they have Isaac Okoro, who they're gonna have to pay, which he doesn't really need that much money. I think Isaac Okoro had a really solid year. He doesn't need that much money. And after that, it's like Marcus Morris, Tristan Thompson. No, nothing really. And then yeah, really you look at the Donovan Mitchell $37 million player option next season. And does he take it? Uh, Probably not. I mean, he can probably get more than 37. So yeah. And then Evan Mobley too. Evan Mobley's going to be eligible for an extension this offseason. So is Jared Allen. So you have three of your top four players eligible for extension. What's going to happen there? Yeah. Wow. The Cavaliers are in a very weird spot right now. They're in a very weird and maybe even dangerous spot where I can't even really blame Kobe Altman if he doesn't shake up this team next season. Because what if we shake all this up and Donovan Mitchell still walks out the door? Then we just traded Darius Garland. We just traded all of our young pieces, and we're just left with Evan Mobley and Max Strus. Like, then what do we do there? You know. But if he doesn't make moves, because this team definitely needs moves. This team needs moves. But what if he doesn't make the moves? And what if it all crumbles next season? There's just yeah, it's a lot to think about. It really is a lot to think about right now. And as a person, personally, I'm gonna get into my personal. As personally a Cavs fan, if you don't know, I'm a Cleveland Cavalier fan, and I take all my bias out and everything because at the end of the day, I love basketball. I love talking about basketball. At the end of the day, my team I root for them, but it's not like I'm gonna come up here and say they're the best team. I don't do that. But getting into my personal fandom a little bit right here, I'm a tiny bit worried about what's to come for the future. I'm scared for the fact that if for the situation that happens if we do trade Darius Garland, we maybe trade Jared Allen, we do all these things, and Donovan Mitchell still walks out the door. Because personally, for me, I think Donovan Mitchell's going to say I'm confident-ish. I would say I'm about 60% confident, 60-40. Donovan Mitchell's going to stay in Cleveland, But again, 60-40, that's just not. I still think about all the time. I'm like, dang, he might leave. He might leave, you know. So I would go all in and try to build around Donovan Mitchell, but personally, that's just me personally. But there's always again the factor of he might leave. And if he does leave, I don't want to be stuck with Evan Mobley and Max Juice. I'd rather have Darius Garland, Evan Mobley, and Jared Allen if Donovan leaves and keep that young thing that we had going before we got Donovan Mitchell still in effect. That's what I would want. That'd be the best case scenario. If Donovan Mitchell does leave, we still have Darius Garland, we still have Evan Mobley, we still have some young pieces to build around, and we can still be a competent team. But that's just not really, that might not be the case after this offseason. So there's just a lot of stuff to think about. We're Comey Altman with the coaching, with the team construction, with Donovan Mitchell, with everything. There's just a whole lot of chaos going on in the Cavaliers world, and we just got to sit back and watch what happens. And as a Cavs fan personally, I am going to be glued to my television or phone or whatever about what the Cleveland Cavaliers decide to do with this team. But yeah, it's going to be it for today. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you missed any other looking episodes, there's a playlist on my channel up right here. You can go and watch those episodes. More will be coming out as these teams get eliminated. And yeah, once again, if you like the content, consider subscribing, turn notifications, all stuff like that. I'd really appreciate it. But it's said a lot. And yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow.